Hello everyone, Jen here, and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. I am so proud of this one. It turned out so well. It was a last minute build, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes, but it was a last minute build, and I am inserting it in here today for a couple of very important reasons. The first is that if you didn't see my last video, I have been working on this cute little apartment building for Brindleton Bay. It's got kind of a backstory to it and stuff. So go watch my last two videos before this one. I have to rebuild that lot so that I can finish it and upload it, which is fine because I love that lot so much. I think it's really cute. But it's gonna take me a couple of days to get it fully back to where it was at and then get the last apartment finished. So I was gonna put a Disney Dreamlight Valley video in here. That was always the plan from the very beginning of the week. But then I noticed when you don't upload to YouTube, like I uploaded only 2 videos in a 2-week period of time, and my views tanked really badly. And that's what happens when you're a micro creator like I am. If you don't upload at least like a minimum of 4 times a week, I think that's like I can probably get away with not uploading for 3 days. But anything more than that, and YouTube stops recommending the videos to people to watch, and so then my views tank. And so only having 2 videos in 2 weeks, it took a couple of videos to get my views to go back up to where they were at, and I don't want to ruin that by sticking a non-Sims video in here as sort of, not, I don't want to call my non-Sims videos filler videos because I love all the games that I play. I love them all. I enjoy playing them all. But they definitely don't get the views that my Sims videos get. Usually not by a long shot. So I enjoy them and I will continue to do them. I do kind of consider them more filler videos in a way. And with my views having tanked, I didn't think it was a good idea at this particular moment to stick a filler video in here. So I decided to do this one. So specifically, the inspiration behind this lot, and we're going to talk about something here, is there have been some leaks, and I'm not going to talk about them. I'm sad that I even saw the leaks, to be honest with you. It's so much less exciting when you see the leaks ahead of time because everybody's speculating. You don't really know based on the leaks what is really in the pack. And honestly, based on the roadmap and everything, the leaks that we got really didn't... It told us where the world is sort of based on, and that's about it. That's the only truly new information we got from the leak, but it makes it... I don't know. It's less exciting when it happens. I don't like leaks. I like leaks for my channel, I'm gonna be honest. Leaks, big announcements, and giveaways are by far the biggest draws on my channel as far as views go. And so for that, I liked them for a while there. But I don't like them because they take away the excitement of all of us seeing the trailers together for the first time and going over everything, and I don't know. I don't know how to put what I want to say into words, but I don't love leaks. And then on top of it, I feel bad for the developers because they put so much time into this game, and they are really excited to share stuff and show off all the hard work that they've done, and they don't even get the pleasure of that because someone else took it away from them. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel bad for them, and I don't want to contribute to that. I would much rather find out the information from the developers because I think it's more fun that way. Those little window covers give me so much trouble. I don't record every bit of it, but literally all the way until the end of the video, I was fixing and refixing those little window covers there because they gave me so many problems. The same with the circle rooms, the half circle room areas, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But anyways, so suffice it to say, which I've been talking about for 5 minutes now, I don't like leaks, and I have made the decision not to talk about them on my channel anymore. They are out there. If you can get on Twitter, you can find them. But we kind of have a pretty good... I mean, we kind of knew from the roadmap already what the pack coming out in July is gonna be. So that leak wasn't too surprising. It's still disappointing that people do that though, but one of the people who knows information ahead of time and likes to hint and tease at information ahead of time has been teasing some information about a pack of some kind or another coming out probably later this year. And again, I'm not going to talk about it. You can find it on Twitter if you really want to. They don't give any... It's very vague hints, like incredibly vague hints. But, and it doesn't necessarily... Well, I mean, it could have something to do with occults, but it might not. I don't know. The hints are extremely vague. Like, extremely vague hints. Sort of. You'd have to go and see them to understand what I mean. At any rate, the point is, I saw this person's vague hints, and it got me inspired to revisit the occult world. And that's all I'm going to say about those hints and leaks. I don't know what that pack is, what it's going to be. I have a vague understanding of what it's going to kind of entail a little bit. Or, like, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it without talking about the leak, so let's just move on. A couple of months ago, I did a lot for Glimmerbrook that I absolutely loved. And at the time, I talked about how I love the idea of taking these really tiny worlds, which almost always come with the occults, I think. Oh, there's also Magnolia Promenade, which I'd love to work on too in the future. But anyways, I love the idea of taking these little tiny worlds. And now that we have For Rent, and you can kind of, in a roundabout way, combine different community lots together on one lot. Specifically, you can have restaurants and bars on the same lot together. I don't know if there are a lot of other lots that work that way. I'd have to look it up, but I know specifically restaurants and bars work that way. But the thing is if you don't mind not having the NPCs, there are a lot of things that you can mix together, like a spa. You can make a hair salon. I did this a long time ago, I made a salon. And if you put spa stuff in it, it can be like a salon slash spa slash nail place. And you still get some of the NPCs that show up there. Uh, you just wouldn't get the same NPCs. So specifically, I'm thinking if you decided to put a gym on a restaurant lot, you're not gonna get uh, like NPCs having to do with gyms. Do the gyms have NPCs? Like trainer NPCs? I don't hardly ever take my Sims to gyms. I don't know that much about them, but uh, if you put a gym on the same lot as a restaurant and you label it a restaurant so that it works as a restaurant, you're not going to get the gym NPCs if there are any. You know what I'm trying to say? But if you don't mind that, so for instance, on that Glimmerbrook lot, I made it a restaurant so that I would get both restaurant staff but also a bartender because restaurants come with bars and bartenders. I also had a library on that lot, and the Sims used the library. The only thing the library didn't come with was the librarian NPC. That's what I'm trying to get at. If you don't mind not having every NPC, you can sometimes mix lots and it's fine. In fact, most of the time I don't even notice the librarian, and obviously I have no idea if there's a gym NPC at all or not. So obviously I don't pay attention to that one. You could have a library and a gym on the same lot. So the point is, I love the idea of taking these little tiny worlds and expanding them to being living, thriving little towns, even though they only have, just a few lots available. In this case, it has 4 or 5 lots, but Vlad gets the 5th lot, so you really only have 4 lots to work with, unless you delete Vlad and change his lot into something else or move Vlad to one of the smaller lots. But with all the lore and everything behind Forgotten Hollow and Moonwood Mill and all that stuff, it just makes sense to leave Vlad in his mansion on the hill and just work with the 4 lots around the park plaza area. And so I love the idea of taking these little tiny worlds and putting as much as I can into them to really expand them. So this brings me up before I start talking about this specific lot. This brings me to my next thing that I wanted to talk about. I was making a save file of just random builds that I've made that I really, really love. And I will still put some of my builds that I have absolutely adored over the years in that save file, but I'm also kind of going back to the idea of having builds that I make dedicated specifically to a save file. So maybe doing a little bit of a mixture of both, where I specifically make builds for a save file, if that makes sense. But then I also bring in some older builds that I've made, or maybe I could redo them and update them and make them better. I don't know. We'll talk about the save file later, but I do kind of just want to work my way through an entire save file and just redo all of the lots. I don't know. It's a big undertaking though, but I have this desire to make an entire save file. I just get overwhelmed by it, I think. Anyways, I don't plan on using this as a nightclub or a lounge. We start out with building it as a lounge and then turn it into a nightclub later in the video. But I do plan on using the main structure of this house again in the future, because my story in my head behind this lot is that the vampires are okay going, to like San Myshuno or wherever to hang out at night, at the bars and stuff, but they would prefer something that caters a little more directly to them and somewhere closer to home. So they took this old mansion that was here in Forgotten Hollow and they turned it into a nightclub. Now, at this point in the build process, I'm actually building it as a lounge, but later on, after talking to some people on Twitter, I change my mind and I turn it into a nightclub instead. Really and truly, it's so easy to turn it back into a lounge. All you have to do is delete the DJ booth and put instruments and a microphone on that stage instead, and it works as a lounge. And then you can categorize it as a lounge, and it works as a lounge as well. So that's the nice thing about bars, nightclubs, and lounges, is that they're fairly versatile among the three of them, that you can go back and forth between the three of them really easily. So you could test it out in your game and see which Sims show up the most and stuff, and which group of Sims you like the most. But someone on Twitter gave me the suggestion of also making a club, if you have get together, for vampires, and then having it only be a club lot for just vampires to show up. I really liked that idea. I thought that was a great idea, so that it would just specifically and only be a vampire hangout. That could work as well. But I don't know if the bartender would show up. And I don't know that the DJ would show up either. Would they, if it's just specifically set for vampires? And would other Sims show up? That's something I'm going to have to test and see. Another thing I need to test and see is if you can make restaurants serve only plasma fruit related stuff. Because the other idea that I had was turning the bottom floor into a restaurant, leaving the second floor a bar, which you'll see in a few minutes here. The second floor becomes a bar. Right now, I'm trying to put everything on the first floor and ignore the second and third floor and the tower, because I just wanted a really big, tall, old building, but I didn't necessarily need all that space because it's a huge build. So I was thinking of just ignoring those upper floors. But you'll see it changes eventually, and we'll talk about that down the road. Right now I'm trying to stick the bar in to that little half circle area on the side of the building. This is not the front of the building over here. This is the side of the building. And it ends up not looking good, so I change it later on. But that was kind of the idea behind this. Take this big old building, but just use the bottom floor as a nightclub and ignore the fact that there are other floors above it. The other thing was that half circle space on that side of the house there doesn't work properly. Neither the bottom floor or the second floor appear to have roof over it. Oh no, I think the bottom floor does, because I end up putting stairs there. But the second floor, even though it doesn't look like it, so if we go back over, I don't know if we're gonna go back over or not, but if we go back over, you can see how the end of that half circle area is really lit up. That's because the game doesn't consider it a room with a roof over it. And I never did fix that, even though it does have floor above it, because eventually here I moved the bar to the second floor. It's working with those half circle rooms is such a pain, excuse me, is such a pain that I don't plan on building a lot with them in the future. And so I kind of want to take this main structure that I already have here and do a couple of other ideas that I have for it, and upload those as well, because this already was a pain as it was. But I love the structure of this build. I think it turned out really, really well. I just wish the half circle rooms worked a little better. The stuff that I went through getting this build to work properly and not glitch out, let me tell you. But I think this is the part where I'm like, yeah, I just don't like how this is set up. No, not quite yet, I guess. Huh. It's got to be coming up soon, though, because I'm sitting here looking and I'm like, I just don't like this. I don't like how it's set up. I don't like how the bar is kind of off to the back and it's in a very small area. I don't like anything about it. It's really small. Yeah, so, anyways, I do have future plans for like a restaurant for Forgotten Hollow as well, if I can get a restaurant that only serves plasma fruit stuff, and just things like that, things of that nature that I want to try out, because I love the idea and the challenge of taking these little tiny worlds and making them feel like full little towns. But that's why I don't want to build like big apartment buildings like you would find even in Evergreen Harbor. Like, those aren't huge, they're not skyscrapers like San Myshuno, but they are fairly big apartment buildings. And I just don't think they'd fit into these small town places very well. I'd rather take homes, and that's what this is. If I didn't say this already, or you didn't see that part of the building, the vampires got together and they decided they wanted a place to hang out. Other Sims can come here too, but it's definitely a vampire nexus, so vampires will show up predominantly here. Um, and they wanted a place closer to home that they felt more comfortable. This is where I'm trying to fix that half corner area or half circle area. Oh my god, it was such a pain. Anyways, and so they took this old mansion in Forgotten Hollow and they turned it into a nightclub. Here's where I changed it into a nightclub. So anyways, I totally lost my train of thought of what I was saying before, but yeah, I want to. Oh, I think I was saying how I would like to also try this build as an apartment building, taking an old house and breaking it up into apartments so you can fit more Sims in the world, but so that the builds themselves fit into the worlds better. So like an old house like this broken up into at least like 3 different apartments makes more sense than building an apartment building, if that makes sense to you. You know what I mean? And so I have some plans like that and stuff. Those will be coming soon, in the very near future, probably next week, maybe the week after. I don't really know yet. Depends on how my Brindleton Bay lot goes. And the day after I upload this video, I do plan on uploading that Dreamlight Valley video, because I need the filler day to get that Brindleton Bay lot done. I'm really, really hoping I get it done and I can upload the last part in that little mini series on Friday. so that we can do some other stuff. As much as I love that build and it gave me back my inspiration to get back building in The Sims again, I don't just want to spend 2 weeks focusing on that one build. I want to move on to other stuff. And now I'm starting to get a little more confident, especially after building this vampire build. I'm starting to get a little bit more confident and a little bit more willing to take risks with my builds. Like, most of my builds are square. They're square little boxes because that's what's easiest to work with. But now that I've done these half circle towery like things on this build, I'm excited to do more stuff like that and do builds that are a little bit shaped differently. Not that I don't love my little box houses, because I absolutely adore them. I personally don't find anything wrong with them. Yeah, when you're looking from a bird's eye view in the game, they don't look that great. But who's playing The Sims from a bird's eye view? Nobody is. I mean, like with the walls and roof up and everything. You know what I'm saying? You're not playing The Sims that way. So you're not seeing the build in that unflattering way. If you get down into the game and you get in there and you're playing, those little box houses can look really good, and they don't need a ton of bump outs and corners and stuff like that. They're cute little houses that are easy for gameplay, and I love them, and they're very real world, and yeah, I just love everything about those little tiny box houses. But I am getting more confident in these bigger builds and these more intricate builds as well too. So I do like them as well too. That bar gave me so much trouble. I really wanted to use the bar that came with the Vampires pack. I loved it, but it has a no matching countertop, or no matching counters. You can match the countertop, but then the wood is a different color. Or you can match the wood, but then the countertop is a different color. And what's weird is I think these are the vampire counters. The countertop matches the base game bar. Doesn't even match the wood bar of the vampire pack. But it does match the base game bar, but the wood doesn't. Ugh, that was such a pain. In the end, I decided it looked better to have the darker wood on the bottom of the bar and have the countertops all be identical all the way throughout, because it looked better that way. But man, that thing gave me so much trouble. I changed it at least a dozen times, if not more. And then this is just the little bar area. So next to the bar there, between the bar and that little sitting lounge area, is an empty blank space. That is because I left a empty spot behind the bar. You can put, if you have get together, you can put a club door there, and you can use that empty space. If you don't want to use the whole build as a vampire hangout, not a vampire hangout, but a club hangout specifically for vampires, you can put a club door right there, and you can use the rest of the second floor specifically as a club hangout. And it doesn't have to just be vampires, it can be regular Sims too. But we didn't need that much space for a bar, and so I wanted to leave you some space to put a club hangout back there if you so choose, or you can do whatever you want with it. I have plans for the main structure of this build in the future, but you could use that as a little apartment if you wanted it. Obviously no one can actually live there. I guess maybe you could have a lot somewhere that you just leave empty as nothing, and you could have the sim from that lot live in an apartment on a community lot. I don't think they would consider it being at home, but I think they could basically do everything that you can do in a regular house on it. So there's lots of different ways to play with community lots. Uh, I do hope someday in the future they give us the ability to mix lots. We have the ability to have bars on restaurant lots, and I think there are a couple of others, but again, I would have to look it up. But specifically, what I would love to see is homes or apartments, more or less, on community lots, but also multiple community lots on one lot so that you can actually have all the NPCs show up for each of the different spots and maybe designate those spots as that lot, kind of like how you can designate separate apartments and for rent. And honestly, to me personally, now that they have that for rent system set up, I can see how they could make those kind of lots. But anyways, we're near the end here and we're about to get into the walkthrough. I did do a little bit of green landscaping, a little more green than some of the other lots have. I don't feel like everything has to be dead and gray and brown everywhere in Forgotten Hollow. So I did a little bit of green landscaping on this, but not too terribly much. And I did include some of the vines and stuff, as you can see. And I included the signs so so you could see that it's designated as a community lot. But let's get into that walkthrough. I really wanted to show this lot off. I am so proud of it. So the walkthrough is a little bit longer this time than what I usually do, but here you can see the front outside of this little lot. It's an old house, like an old Victorian and or Gothic house that the vampires decided that they wanted to turn into a nightclub. So they added a little sign, an open sign and a club sign at the top. But you've still got all that charm from the old house there. And then you walk in and you have the coat room for putting... I know vampires don't wear coats, or like they shouldn't wear coats. They shouldn't need to wear coats, but I wanted a coat room anyways. I think a fancy old nightclub and a fancy old mansion for vampires needed a coat room. So I did that. And then we have the main area with the DJ booth and sitting spots and dancing area. Then you have the back door here and a little back room. There are 2 bathrooms there. The vampires don't need bathrooms, but if they have non-vampire guests or if other Sims decide to stop by and check out the nightclub, they are gonna need a bathroom. And then you have the stairway hall, I guess is what I'd call it. Just a back room where the stairs are at. Nothing overly fancy. There's a couple of chairs for sitting, but otherwise it's just where the stairs are at. And then you go up to the second floor and you have the bar area. So you can sit up here. It's slightly quieter, although not much, because it is an old house, so all the floors and walls and everything are really thin. And you can still hear the music up here, but you can sit and it's a little bit quieter. You can have a drink, you can talk, whatever. There is this back area back here that you can use for a club or apartment, like I said. Excuse me. You can use it for a club or apartment if you want. All the lights downstairs should be red I did not think to turn the lights upstairs red as well. The downstairs is meant to be red. It's club red, like club blood for vampires. So they're meant to be red down here. You can leave them yellow upstairs, it works, or you can change them red upstairs too. But on that note, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoy my channel, if you want to see more, or if you think other people should see my channel, I'll learn to speak someday. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you feel compelled, leave a little comment. Let me know what you think of this build, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!